challenge that we have as business owners is that we're also leaking money. We're leaking profits in the simplest things. Think about one of your people being stuck in traffic for an hour. Well, how much is that person's hour worth? And when they're stuck in traffic for an hour, what's the knock-on effect of that? What's the impact of that?
Dominic Rubino is currently a business coach and has sold almost everything under the sun. He is a firm believer that no matter what you do, even if you're a behind the curtain technician reporting to just one supervisor, you need to at least be able to sell yourself and your ideas to that person. Hi, my name is Andre Chandra, founder and CEO of Propelo Media. Leaders rise up in challenging times. In this episode, Dominic talks about how he uses content marketing to build his brand, how he started creating relevant content for a very niche set of audience, but that grew into a global following and opened up doors to creating content for other parallel industries. Listen to his story. Dominic Rubino, thank you for joining us on the show. How are you today?
I'm good, Andre. How are you?
I'm good. Well, can you just introduce yourself for the audience here watching everywhere they are worldwide?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. As you said, my name's Dominic Rubino. I'm a podcast host as well. I host the Profit Tool Belt podcast, as you can see with my hat, where I speak to construction and contracting business owners all around the world. And I have another podcast, very niche, very specific, and it's just for the architectural millwork and cabinetry industry. It's called Cabinet Maker Profit System. And so in both of those, I speak to construction business owners.
I see. Yeah, well, the second one, you're speaking to a very specific group of people. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And we're big on content marketing, and you do as well. As companies kind of look around and want to, kind of pivot and see how they can brand themselves and put their names out there. Can you share your journey, how you got started into selecting that particular niche and how you kind of grew from there?
Yeah, well, it is a lesson in itself, I'll tell you. So I just sold my last company. In my last company, I was a franchisor of a business coaching organization. I was partners with a gentleman named Brian Tracy, who many of your listeners will know.
Yes.
Brian's name in sales and marketing and management. And I franchised his concept all around the world, and I sold that. And I didn't want to travel anymore, which turns out to be a good decision given travel restrictions around the world right now. And so I needed to find a way to reuse my content. And I've been a business coach for 20 years now, believe it or not. I know I look very young, but in my past, I've spoken a lot for industry associations, and one of them was a cabinet maker association. So I took that material and I turned it into a podcast, just kind of to see how it was going to turn out. Well, it took off. And what I learned there is that niching down is very scary. It was very scary to tell people, I have a podcast just for cabinet makers, architectural millworkers, and furniture makers, because everybody looked at me like I was a nut bar. But to cabinet makers and architectural millworkers, it makes sense. And so going very deep into that market, I was much better able to understand their challenges, the way they talk, the way they listen, what they're looking for. And in order to be the best sort of service to them, I had to understand them better. And so that podcast really helped with that.
Got it. Now, in terms of the language, the lingo, the jargons may be a little bit different, but the business principles remain the same and remain universal everywhere else, right?
That's right. And, people don't want to hear that, but we're actually in the business of business. Most of us live in denial of the fact that you're a marketer who happens to be in whatever business you're in. I don't care if you make clothing for spas. You happen to be a marketing company who makes clothing for spas. If you sell computers, you're a marketing company who sells computers. And, my successes in life have all come from being very brutal with myself. I have to be a marketer to understand my market and then sell my product or service the best I can. Right. I'm not, I used to be a house painter. I used to think I was a house painter. No, that's wrong. If I want to be a really good house painter, I have to be a marketer who happens to be a house painter. not just a house painter.
Right, right. Well, you brought up a great point. It reminds me of this book by Michael Gerber called E-Myth, where if you're a technician working in your business, then you're basically buying yourself a job, right? To go beyond that, you have to work on the business and set up processes and systems. And looks like that's what you're teaching these cabinet makers and furniture makers on how to put together a system. Is that
Yeah,
roughly correct? Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And I use that book, The E-Myth Revisited by Gerber, as the backbone of my work. I have done for many years. I also use a lot of the Rockefeller or scaling up system. And you know what was funny, Andre, is after I did the cabinet making podcast, because so many different trades touch on cabinet making, like builders, general contractors, plumbers, etc., electricians, I started to get requests from people in other trades. And
Hmm.
so that's why I spun off this podcast here, the second one called
Right.
Propelo, for other construction trades, because they started asking me the savvy guys, the savvy business owners were asking me business questions about their bricklaying company, about their overhead door company. It didn't. They already knew it didn't matter that it was cabinetry or overhead doors. They knew it was about the business of business.
Right, right. Now, speaking of the construction industry or furniture industry, and you're physically located in Vancouver, Canada,
That's right.
can you share a little bit how COVID has impacted these two industries?
Well, so I'm based here in Vancouver, but my market, my audience is all over the world. So the answer I'm going to give you comes from South Africa, England, Ireland, United States, New Zealand, Australia, anywhere else I may be missing. Everybody's busy.
Hmm.
Construction people are busy. And so what happened in the very beginning, we all sort of, everybody, duck and cover. We don't know what's going on. So
Right.
for days it was a little unsure. There's a little bit of a burp coming right now where new housing starts fell off. And so there was a little while where new projects weren't getting started. And so some guys in some trades are hurting a little bit right now, but for the most part, incredibly busy. Like problems getting supply, problems getting people, the same problems we had before exist now. Very, very busy in construction right now.
Got it. Got it. So you mentioned that the hiccups are more in the supply chain where they may not get the supplies to actually do the work.
Yeah. Like polycarbonate, what you might call plexiglass.
Hmm.
Good luck trying to find that right now because everybody is milling that and installing that all over the world. So that's been sold out for quite a while. It might, by the time this goes to air, maybe that's changed. But a number of different supply chain issues have come up. But also for a little while, think about municipal halls, like city halls shutting down. They weren't issuing building permits.
Right.
And so there's a little bit of a hiccup there where those building permits not being issued affected the architect, the designer, the builder, the site excavations. And so
Right.
those slowed down a bit and we might see a little bit of a lag effect, but people are busy.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I didn't really think about that because in addition to the supply chain, it's these processes that are peripheral maybe to the actual construction work itself.
Yeah.
They got affected, especially government offices.
Yeah. We call that, if I can be a business coach geek for a second, we call that the law of unintended consequences.
Right, right. Well, there are some economists I've been, reading a lot of news about this. They they basically say that the economy structurally is sound. It's just turned off. It's shut down because everybody's got to shelter in place. Um, do you think that's a fair assessment? And what do you think will happen once everything just reopen completely?
You know what? I'm not an economist, so I don't know. I mean, my favorite other podcast is Freakonomics, which is
Right.
about behavioral economics. I love that show. But I can tell you this, the people that I'm talking to, which are construction business owners, are busy. I mean, they still have the same staff problems. They can't find enough good people,
Right.
but no shortage of work, which is surprising because you would think, people are at home, they don't want contractors coming and going. But I don't know how to explain it because I'm not smart enough. But construction is busy.
Right. Right. Now, during uncertain times, even though you're busy, Of course, in business, we're taught to have an eagle eye on cash flow and margins now more so than ever because we're not sure what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah.
And now you have this, you know, this kind of package called finding and fixing your 8 profit leaks. Can you share with our audience a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the benefits, and I know this is a horrible time for the world, it's a serious time, but one of the exercises that we were all forced to go through right away was let's look at our monthly recurring expenses. And I'm sure everybody sat with their accountant or their bookkeeper and said, what are we paying monthly that we don't have to spend anymore?
Right.
And right away, people found hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars in recurring monthly charges for different SaaS products that they had or different subscriptions, or went back to their vendors and said, hey, we got to rework this if you don't mind. And money was immediately saved. And that's an example of a profit leak.
Sure.
We always focus on sell, get more business. The challenge that we have as business owners is that we're also leaking money. We're leaking profits in the simplest things. Think about one of your people being stuck in traffic for an hour. Well, how much is that person's hour worth? And when they're stuck in traffic for an hour, what's the knock-on effect of that? What's the impact of that? So I like to ask people just in a straight meeting, do you think you can find $100 a day in savings in your company? And almost every president, business owner, general manager says, yeah, we could find $100 a day. Well, multiply that by 365, and it doesn't take long to add that profit back in. And it just seeps out, it leaks.
Right. What are the most common leaks that you found to be impactful, but often we neglected them?
Yeah, well, there's selling to the wrong customer, not managing our costs, wasted efforts, and wasted efforts, by the way, not just in doing the work at the coalface, as we say, whatever business you're in. Like if you're in a restaurant, I'm not just talking about the cooks and the serving staff. I mean, even in the office, like wasted meetings. A meeting does not have to be an hour. A meeting has a purpose. It is there for making decisions. And so just because you booked an hour for a meeting doesn't mean the meeting needs to be an hour.
Right.
If it's done in 47 minutes, thank you, we're done, let's get on to work, right? So wasted efforts inside the organization, that's a cultural thing that we as owners could start to change really quickly. Mine are very trade related. So when we talk about estimating, people who aren't in the construction trades will have to think about their pricing models. But when was the last time you went back and challenged, like really aggressively challenged your estimating assumptions?
Right.
All sorts of stuff pops out of that one. Yeah. And there's a few, but let me stop there for a second, see if there's any questions.
No, go ahead.
Okay. The other one is a collections problem. It costs money when your company acts like a bank, unless you're a bank.
Right.
Or a leasing company or something like that. But if I extend you credit because you're over 60 days or over 90 days, whatever it is, over 120, heaven forbid, I'm now acting as a bank, and there's a real cost to that money because cash, and many of us have read the book by Mike Michalowicz, Profit First.
Yes.
Great book, right? Cash is like air to a business. We need to breathe it in and we need to breathe it out. And for every day I don't have that cash, I'm constricting my own business. And so I take people through ways to find those leaks and to fix them because they're so easy to fix. It actually doesn't even cost you any more in sales. This is internal money that we need to go find. And you just look under the big rocks, and there you just have to know which questions to ask, and the money's there.
Right. Would you say for these kinds of activities, the bigger challenge is the cultural shift or changing people's hearts and minds, especially if it's a bigger company with a bigger team?
Yeah, it has to start with the owner. You and I are both business owners. If I don't bring it to the table, my team's never, it's just not inside that's not their playing field. There's a simple meeting, and I'm a big fan of this. It does not have a very exciting name. It's called the Finance and Forecast Meeting. does not have an exciting name. I mean, so much so that I created a script for business owners to follow. People download. It's one of the most downloaded things on my website is the finance and forecast meeting script with agenda. I think it's a horrible title, but people download it because they don't know what to say in that meeting. But you start the meeting and you turn to your accountant and you ask these questions. And you turn to your operations person, you ask these questions. But the most powerful question is at the very, very end. And this is the profit finder. You just turn to all of your leadership team and you say, where do you think we are losing money or wasting time in the company? And please tell me 3 ways you think we can fix it. And then as the owner, you just shut up and let your team come up with the ideas. They will know. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's their responsibility. This is what they see day to day. So you trust them to be the utmost expert on that particular thing within the company.
Yeah. I really blew it on that one once in one of my other. Do you have time for a funny story?
Go ahead.
So in not the franchise company, the one before that, I had a mail order pharmacy company. It was rather large. I had a 120 seat call center. I had 40 pharmacists and 40 pharmacists and pharmacy technicians working for me. It was quite a large company. And I thought, I should go around and ask my top people what we can do to improve the business. And so what I did is I just took them out for coffee or lunch, depending on the time of day that they were free and we could do it, walk next door to the cafe. So we had somebody in our company, her job was mail. That was it. She just took care of mail. But keep in mind, we shipped 500,000 packages a year. And so just because her title didn't sound very exciting, she was in charge of a lot of stuff. And so we have our coffee, and at the very end, I'm like, hey, listen, is there something we could be doing to really improve your department? And she said, Dom, I've been telling you forever, and you're not listening. We're supposed to be getting credits back from the post office and the shipping company. And I thought to myself as I'm having my coffee, oh, okay, credits. Well, it was $5,000 a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Her salary was $4,000 a month. And I had been ignoring her telling me that for how long? So she more than paid for herself with one suggestion she'd been trying to make and I wasn't listening to. And so it's our job as the business owner, as a leader, to go and ask our people, what can we be doing better? And then take it seriously. They, like you said, they know what they're talking about. Listen.
Yeah. Now, in terms of just the whole economy, not just in the construction industry, I just want to kind of pick your brain a little bit here. What are the post-COVID signals that you're looking for, and what should business owners do first?
The signals I'm looking for, I try to listen to very little news media because their job is to sell advertising. And so they want to tell me bad news, so I listen more. But I think we all want our kids to go back to school and we all want what we used to have as normal or to figure out our new normal. So I don't know that I can comment on that, but I can tell you what we're looking for in the future is trust is going to be a more important factor in people making decisions than ever before. I have to trust where I'm buying my car. I've got to trust where I'm doing my grocery shopping. I have to trust my dentist before I'll walk in there. And so, we talked about the law of unintended consequences. I would imagine that in a couple of years, cavities are going to be through the roof because people are going to stop going to the dentist because we don't trust that our dentist can keep us safe, right? So if you're a dentist, how are you showing me that I can trust you? And that's why if what I'm looking for clues is when the dentist is doing content marketing like you and I do, they're putting out videos. This is our office. This is how we clean your chair. This is our newest system for autoclaving. This is how we do this. This is how I want to see that video. Otherwise, I'm not booking to go in. And so for me, trust elements are going to be more important than anything else in making those decisions to use somebody, to buy or to stop using them.
Right. Well, 2 points on that. Actually, you just brought up a really good point. I just read this survey. I forgot which newspaper or which source, but 72% of people trust business leaders more than their government officials. So I guess these days, when you lead a business, when you have a company and a brand, you're not just leading the internal team, people within your company, but you're actually leading a community as well.
Yeah. You know why? Because as a business owner, I don't have a 4-year term. I'm in. I'm not
Right.
going anywhere, right? I have to be there, and I have to put my money where my mouth is, to use that term.
Right, right. And the second point that you made about this this trust issue, um, it's nowadays, especially this way of communicating with video, it just humanizes our interaction, right? We're not physically in the same room, but we're face to face, and we're social creatures. So can you tell me a little bit more about how communication is going to um, be in the new normal here, what
Yeah.
the future is going to be?
Again, it's funny that you talk about this because I'm getting even my cabinet makers and tradespeople to do this. So really simple example, and I completely agree with you on video. Before COVID, if we were going to do video on social media, we all thought it has to be perfect. It has to be nice
Right.
lighting. Forget it. I actually want to see the business owner holding a shaky cell phone, and I want to see that business owner taking a picture of how they clean their trucks, how they clean their desk, how every half hour somebody wipes all the doors and handles in our office so that when our visitors come in, they can be assured of a clean workspace. Like, I want to see that video, and I don't want it to be glossy. I want to see a handheld walking video, maybe with a selfie stick, right? Those are probably back in style now, because
Right.
I see that. So I know, hey, so-and-so insurance company, they wipe their handles every half hour. I'm going to go there. I'm not going down the street. So I think these are the law of unintended consequences that I was talking about. What else can be impacted and affected? I have to take that step as a business owner to think about that.
Hmm.
What clients went and did a video exactly that. This is how we clean our trucks. Very simple. He showed himself with a cell phone holding a spray bottle, which he put down, and then he used the rag. It's a horrible quality video, but people comment on that when they contact him and say, hey, can you do our kitchen cabinets? That's exactly what we want. That's a trust element. They know that if he's taking care of wiping down the van, he's taking care of all the other things.
Right, right. And to build this trust, therefore, it's more about your authenticity and the earnestness over this production quality that some people may think it's now artificial. It's not real anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Show me the real stuff.
Right, right. Now, Dom, is there anything else that I haven't asked yet that you'd like to share?
No, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about because it's just everything's new. It's like we've had a chance to reinvent ourselves right now.
Hmm.
And I'm worried that this might come across wrong, but we've got a global pandemic that has given us the opportunity to have like a practice run on what could happen if things went really bad. Because although this is very bad and some people have been affected, and I hope nobody's been personally affected at the family level, but this has been a pandemic where the roads still worked. We could still travel. We could still buy food. We still had water and power. And so it's a wake up call for us all to think, hey, maybe I should make that emergency kit in my basement. And maybe I should make sure that my parents have the right plan for if we can't get there, how do I know they're going to be safe? It
Right.
just helped us all understand in the event of a different kind of emergency, what would we do? Because this emergency, from an infrastructure standpoint, still allowed us to move around and do things.
Right, right. Well, Dom, you have been excellent. I think you have a lot of insights, and I just want to thank you again for being on the show. I want to wish you the best of luck, best wishes, so that everyone can pull out of this pandemic together, stronger than before. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Andre. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.